Hey everybody, welcome to Leave No Taste. I'm Mark, and today we're making sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is as much a process as it is a dish. I know everyone associates sauerkraut with being cabbage, but the process of malolactic fermentation, which utilizes healthy gut bacteria and probiotics, you end up with a lot of probiotics and healthy gut bacteria through the process of the fermentation. It's one of the oldest forms of food preservation. People have been doing this for thousands of years. Um, I always, even as much kitchen experience as I had, I was always super intimidated by vegetable fermentation and never really got into it until I did it one day and was like, wow, this is possibly the easiest and most delicious thing that you can possibly do in your kitchen. So I ended up with some green cabbage. I've got about 2 pounds shredded into, kind of ribbons. And then I have probably 12 grams of salt, which is about half an ounce. So to start this process, we are going to add salt to the cabbage. We're going to kind of macerate this by hand, almost like you're kneading dough or something like that. You want to kind of bruise the cabbage and let the salt go to work on it because it's going to make it purge some moisture. And we'll let it rest for about 20 minutes after you get the salt well incorporated, and we'll let the cabbage kind of settle. And then we will go from there. All right, it's been about, 35 minutes or so. Our cabbage has definitely started to wilt. The salt is taking effect. So I'm going to go ahead and pack it into a non-reactive jar of some kind, which basically just means you want something that's not metal or plastic because it's going to stay in there for a while. It's going to pickle itself in an acidic liquid that it produces on its own, and the acid can pull some off flavors. It might be a little bit metallic if you use just like a metal mixing bowl, or plastic for aging things is just not really good. So something glass or ceramic. I've just got a ceramic crock here. I'm going to go ahead and pack all of my salted cabbage that will turn into sauerkraut. And again, sauerkraut, like I said before, is a method as much as a food. You can do this with beets, you can do this with cauliflower, you can do it with broccoli, you can salt ferment almost any vegetable that comes out of your garden. You can make into really delicious, really interesting sides and foodstuffs. Once we get this into crock, you just want to press it down very firmly. You're going to notice that there's enough liquid that it will rise to the top. And if it doesn't rise to the top immediately, you can always top this off with a little bit of 2% brine, which basically just means if you have 100 grams of water and 2 grams of salt, that is the salinity of the liquid that we're working with anyway. Because the one important thing while it's aging, I'm going to use a little glass pyrex here. The one important thing is to make sure that the cabbage stays below the liquid level. That's what's going to allow it to pickle. That's what's going to allow the malolactic fermentation to take its due course. But as long as you check on it every couple of days in the beginning and make sure it stays below, the rest will take care of itself. Optimum temperatures to do this are, they say the best is between 65 to 72 degrees, but I usually do it here in Montana significantly cooler than that. It might take a little bit longer until the flavor is exactly where you want it, but, feel free to taste it through the process. And probably after about 2 weeks, it's usually at its peak level and pickled and ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got this pressed down. The liquid's at the top. I'm going to go ahead and cover it with a towel just to keep I want it to be able to breathe, but this keeps any, dust from settling in there or something from falling in that's in the same room. And I'm just going to set this in the back room and let time and malolactic fermentation do its due course. Okay, so our kraut has been put in the back room to ferment. I have some right here that has fermented for a couple of weeks. That's already ready to go. You can see the consistency is wilted, but it still has a really nice crisp to it. It's tangy. It's delicious. You can serve it with, you put it on a Reuben, serve it with bratwurst or Polish sausage. Today, I am just going to serve it with a simple charcuterie board that we've got some venison sausage, some Montana cheese curds, a little bit of stone ground mustard, and homemade apple butter, and just some saltine crackers. It's basic, but a wonderful afternoon snack. Great on the weekends with cold beer. So we'll see you next time on Leave No Taste. Make the most of the food you make.